Don't you just love Zoom? It's like you say good morning and like that's it. There's just dead silence. So thank you, Manny.
Morning.
Thank you, Aunt. Thank
Morning,
you.
Eric.
Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. We can all wake up, get energized. It's Thursday. It's a rainy day. It's pre-Friday, so there's a lot to be excited about. Hope everyone's having a good morning so far. Looking forward to today's class. We have a lot to cover, but all good stuff. So with that being said, our assistant instructor today was supposed to be Kevin Vasquez. Kevin is no longer in program. So is there somebody that would be so kind to raise their virtual hand and say, "Yeah, I'll be your assistant instructor today, Eric. Don't worry about anything. You can count on me. I got your back. I want to work together." Anybody? Say, I'll do that. All right, David Torres, thanks for raising your virtual hand. I appreciate that. I saw your physical hand, Hannah. I appreciate your willingness to step up too. So, David, unmute yourself. Good morning.
Hey, Eric, you know what? I'll actually throw this one to Hannah.
Okay, you're gonna throw it to Hannah. All right. I don't know how I feel about that.
That makes me feel good twice in 1 week.
Twice in 1 week. Twice in 1 week, David delegated his work to you. Is that what happened? All right, Hannah. So first of all, how are you, Hannah?
I'm feeling a little tired this morning and I'm cold, but it's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, it definitely is a chilly day. I have my window open as well because I like the fresh air. But yeah, it feels like winter outside, which is not awesome. All right, Hannah. So first of all, we know that you are from Harlem, right? You told us that like 2 days ago or 3 days ago. Great. So why don't you tell us something else about you? What's your favorite vacation you ever taken, Hannah?
Ooh. I ever taken or I want to take? I want to say a dream vacation.
You want to do what's your vacation?
Like not a dream vacation, but someplace I want to go.
Yeah. What's a dream vacation?
So I wanted to I'm into like climbing and hiking and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to be able to go to Tanzania.
Wow.
Around South Africa and climb the Mount Kilimanjaro.
Wow.
The
So
highest mountain there.
You're like a serious climber.
I just got to like intermediate level, so now I'm like just trying to go hard.
Awesome, good for you. That's pretty amazing. So that's your dream vacation. So we know why you joined Europe already. You shared that earlier on this week. So why don't we just go ahead and that's sort of a fun fact as well that you're an intermediate climber. So we got that covered. Do you have a unique question for the group to this morning?
Another unique question.
Mm-hmm. I know it's a lot of pressure. 2 in a week.
Yeah, twice in 1 week. I should never did this.
And if you're stuck, I can throw you a lifeline.
What is when we? Ooh, throw me a lifeline because I don't want to do mine.
You know, okay, got it. All right. Let's get philosophical here. What do you think is your biggest fear? And you can answer that as deeply as you want or as practical as you want. So you can be like, I have a fear of dying, or you can be like, no, I'm afraid of spiders. So you can just answer that however you feel comfortable. I'm not going to make you ask deep, complex questions of your heart. Just something small can be good as well. Hannah, what's your biggest fear?
Mine's is like the end of the world thing, like picturing how that would go has always been fear.
Yeah, that's a good one. I was actually reading this really fascinating article. I'm gonna look it up, but it's like all about why people like nowadays are obsessed with like zombie shows and like post-apocalyptic shows. It's all because we have like this fear of like how are things gonna end in our world? Because I kind of feel like things are kind of crazy, and definitely that's a real legit fear for me as well. It's like I don't know what's going on in our world. So, and I also am in the same boat as Muhammad. I am afraid of snakes. So when I was a younger man, I worked at a summer camp and in Maryland, and there was lots of snakes down in our camp. And one time, this coworker of mine found a snake that was literally like maybe 6 inches long, and I literally ran away. I was so scared, like I was like terrified, and like it's not a big deal. It's not gonna hurt you. I was like, no way. All right, let's see here. We got snakes, fear of pigeons, acrophobia. My phone might die on me when I'm in the MTA, and my bank statement going red. That's actually really interesting, Manny. I've thought about that before. I remember like navigating New York like with no smartphone, and yeah, it can be complicated. Slingshot ride, falling from high places, spiders, big no. Can't deal with them. My fear has been the same. My biggest fear is failure. Yeah, actually, I definitely can feel that. Anything with 8 legs. So I guess I'm assuming spiders. Check. I fear life itself. Like sometimes am I real? That's wow. Jalissa went deep on us this morning. Eating from others. Don't judge me. No, I don't blame you at all. Um, not one bit, Samaje. Fear of failure. Same mood. Pants falling. Wow, that's really. Yeah, I guess that is kind of scary. Fear of falling from high places. Yeah. So yeah, it's one of those things. Everybody has fears. One of the things that's interesting in my house is my wife is like deathly afraid of roaches. Like she's like terrified of them. Like I don't really care about roaches, so like she'll see one like in the bathroom. She's like, Eric, come here and kill it. And I'll just like hit it with my bare hand. And she like thinks I'm like, this superhero because I did that. She's like, how do you do that? I'm like, it's not that gross to me. It's just a small bug. But in all fairness to her, if I ever see a mouse, I like freak out. I'm like so afraid of mice. And she's like, "Oh, they're cute, they're cuddly." I'm like, "No, they're not. They're gross." so I handle the roaches. She handles the mice. So that's when you got to find your match out there. So there you go, Hannah. You love climbing, but your fear is falling from high places. So there you go. She's conquering her fear. So I commend you for that, and thank you, Hannah, for stepping up and being our assistant instructor today. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on today's lesson. So initiation, lesson 3, project management, day 3. Let's start off by in the chat box. What did we discuss yesterday? Can you populate the chat box and we'll take a look. Oh, go backwards. Yep, Jesus, you went over the steps of project management. What is a stakeholder? Stakeholders and shareholders. Yep, the difference between the two. Andre, can you unmute yourself and explain what a stakeholder is?
A stakeholder is basically a person who would be affected by the said project that is going on. For example, like yesterday, construction of like MTA putting in like a new railroad system.
Yep.
People nearby that construction would be stakeholders since they would be affected by the project itself.
Absolutely, Andre. Thank you. 100% right. David Torres says TED Talk. I don't remember watching a TED Talk in my class yesterday, but I mean, maybe David did just on his free time. The stakeholder is a person impacted by the project. I saw earlier, yeah, Mahmood, what is a project sponsor and why is that person or entity so important in the success of a project?
A project sponsor is basically who's paying for it or who's the main financial backer for it. And they sort of get to decide how the project's going to go about or the expectations. So they're sort of the initial decider at the very least.
Yes, absolutely. They're a really critical part in the project life cycle because ultimately, what you said, Mahmoud, is correct. They not only can determine how the project is run, but they're also the ones who can say, this is not working out anymore. I'm pulling the plug. I'm taking my funding. So keeping the project sponsor happy is really important. So, all right, next one. Who has a good memory? I shared this on a slide deck yesterday. Every project starts with a, what was it? Hannah Holmes, problem. Absolutely. Jalissa, Ashley Buffon, Ricardo, Ricky, thank you. Every project starts with a problem. Somebody somewhere looks and realizes, man, it is really hard to get from the Bronx to Brooklyn without going through Manhattan. So let's make a train line connecting those two boroughs through Queens. There's a problem. Hey, it's my kitchen is falling apart. It's old, it's outdated. I need to renovate it. It's a problem. And on the list goes. So today what we're going to talk about is the steps of initiation. and how initiation works and how you kind of figure out what path you're going to take forward in a project. And there's actually a lot of steps in that within that one first step. But what we're going to actually do to start off class is I have a very short 10-minute video that we're going to watch explaining the differences between agile and waterfall. So just out of curiosity, if you can like give me a green check if you know what those terms mean, or red X if you're like, yeah, I have no idea. If you know what agile and waterfall mean, give me a green check. Red X, like, yeah, I got no idea what that is. I want to just see if you guys found out anything in your research. I'm not going to ask you to explain. I just want to know if you've heard of it before. All right, so we got 3 yeses and 11 nos right now. All right, which is fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend the next 12 minutes. I want to allocate time for commercials if you have them on your YouTube, and we're going to come back together at 10:53. So there's a link. 10:53. Go off camera, and then we're going to have a chat about agile versus waterfall and what the differences are. Thanks, guys. Hope you enjoyed that video, and that explained the difference between agile and waterfall. Oh, it was a big cat, Samaja. Yeah, I thought it was a dog too. That's a really big cat. It looks very friendly. So I want to start off by asking to give me a hand raise, a digital hand raise, if you think you could explain the difference of the two to the rest of the group. Let's go. David, Hannah, Jesus. I'll go down the line. So David.
Thanks, Eric. So for waterfall, it's a sequential process flow that's pre-planned and executed using formal change control, whereas agile is created as a solution to downsides of waterfall in software development. So project design becomes more clear and feasible.
Excellent, David. Thank you so much. Can I challenge you a little bit?
Sure.
In your own words, what's the difference between agile and waterfall? How would you answer that?
So, more simple term, the waterfall is pre-planned. So it's like more easier work efforts because the quality isn't really important.
Okay.
And for the agile, it's more effort to for the initiation of a project, whereas the quality is more important.
Thank you, David. We really appreciate that. Let's do Hannah, then Jesus.
I saw the waterfall. It was pre-planned and very detailed, so it didn't leave much room for changes. And the agile one was more like loose, and I saw that they said something about sprints where like they plan things in like 30-day increments. That way they can change the baselines and go back and they can make changes. That way they don't have to like, I don't know how to explain that part.
No, it's okay. That's a really good start. Thank you so much, Hannah. We appreciate that. And we actually are going to spend a whole entire week talking about agile and the methodologies, because you're IT students. And when you get into IT, that's going to be what you use for your project management. That's very common within the IT field as opposed to other industries. Jesus, do you have anything you want to add?
Yes, just to add on, I would say basically agile is on the newer side, and then waterfall is mostly on the older side. And for agile, you typically embrace change, and then for waterfall, you can't really. It's difficult to commit to a change.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Jesus. We appreciate that. So what David said earlier, like when you do waterfall, it's like this is what we're doing, A to Z, and you just knock it out. And if you get to the letter Y and realize, oh shoot, we did it wrong, there's huge consequences for that, right? Whereas agile, it's small increments, little by little by little. Yes, I see Ricky's hand. Do you have anything to add, Ricky?
It was just pretty much what they said. And what I think is that waterfall is more of a planned thing, that there's really like you already have a plan for the whole project. And with Agile, you pretty much can accommodate to changes if the investor or anyone needs anything change. It is much easier for them to accommodate to whatever changes they need as to where waterfall. It's kind of hard and it affects the beginning of the project. So that's why they have plans already.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, like what Hannah mentioned earlier, you have that adaptability with the agile methodology, whereas with waterfall, it's more of a challenge. Excellent point, Ricky. Andre, anything to add?
It's gonna say more for waterfall was based more like at the like and more so end product being validated, while agile is more knowledge based. Well, knowledge work wise.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely, 100%. Thank you so much. Yeah, if you're gonna build I think she used the example of a bridge in the video. Like if you're gonna build a bridge, like you don't start building it and think, oh, where's this gonna go? Like, what's this? What's where the angle's gonna be? Like you know all that stuff before you even dig one single hole in the ground, right? You know that already. Whereas other, that's like a technology thing with knowledge work, like the term she used, you can kind of figure it out as you go. Usman, last comment, and then we're gonna keep going along.
Waterfall is like, as you just iterated, big, heavy detail, like it's supposed to be there. While agile, it's expected to change. Like you you go in knowing like, okay, everything will be like this towards the end. This is not how you're expecting to change. While in waterfall, changes could be detrimental.
Absolutely. Thank you, Usman. Yeah, because if you get to the end and you realize this is not the right product, then yeah, that's not going to make the project sponsor very happy. All right. So let's see. Let's test your knowledge. I want you to give me a green check if this should be a waterfall or a red X if this should be an agile project. All right. I'll put in the chat box just in case anybody gets turned around. Yeah, and Usman with the vocab. Very impressive. Nice work, Usman. All right. So give me a red X or a green check. I want you to imagine that your cousin is starting her own business and she asks you to build a website for her. Would that be a agile or waterfall project? Green check for waterfall, red X for agile. Your cousin's starting a business and she asks you to build a website for her. All right, Chelsea, you said it was agile. Why is it agile?
Well, it's agile because she doesn't exactly know what she wants the website to look like. You could design it for her and be like, do you like this? And she's like, no, actually, I was imagining something else or something that looks more like this. So you can make those changes as you go, as you build the website for her. And it's not really a tangible thing. So you can make changes whenever necessary.
Yes, absolutely. So like the example she used in the video was you make that landing page and they say, oh, we really wanted this button to be on the right side versus, where you have it on the left side. If you're doing the agile methodology, it's very easy to fix. Whereas if you did the waterfall, you built a whole entire website and it was done, and then the client came in and said, I want these 80 changes. That's very frustrating to a project team. Whereas if you do smaller changes as you go, it's much easier. All right, this one's tricky. Because it was asked earlier by Ashley Ross, is there no in between? Let's go ahead and figure this one out. Renovating your apartment. Let's say you move into a new apartment. You'd like, I know this needs a serious facelift. Are you going to do an agile or are you going to do a waterfall for renovating your apartment? Green check for waterfall, red X for agile. So I see 15 waterfalls and 4 agiles. Jalissa, why do you think this is a waterfall project?
I personally believe it's waterfall because it was very difficult, but I ended up choosing waterfall just because of the fact that, let's say you renovate the floor or the walls, anything that's like, once it's done, it's going to be very, very difficult to have to change it.
Mm-hmm.
But like furniture, that kind of stuff is very much like can change, but it really just depends on the exact renovation that you're doing to the apartment. So I just
Yeah.
waterfall.
Yeah. So traditionally, if you hire a contractor and you say like, "This is what I want done," like they're gonna say, "Okay, move out for a month or 2 months or 3 months, however long it takes, and we're gonna get it done." However, there is a way that you can do this with an agile methodology as well. Samaje, how do you think you could do renovate an apartment using the agile method?
Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Some people, so I feel like it's really in between. It's really hard for me to choose because you know how some people they're just like, I want this done because I'm moving out. You know, it's just for the people. It doesn't have to be great quality, but it's just something that's done. So that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
And plus, she didn't give us like a clear picture on
Right.
what the person wanted, so that's why I put agile.
Sure. So I saw Majida's hand earlier. We're going to call on you in a second, Majida. But before we do, the reason that I would say this is an agile project, if I was getting this done in my apartment, is if you were given the option, hey, we're going to come in and renovate, and you need to go live somewhere for 3 months and come back in what's 3 months from now? Come back in January, and your apartment's going to be done. That would cause me a lot of stress and a lot of anxiety. Whereas if I had the option to say, hey, we're gonna renovate your apartment and you can like live local, and like once a week you can come in and every Monday kind of see what we're doing. Every Friday come back, see what we're doing, and do it in increments. Because what was said earlier, like something like the floors, like I'd rather look at the floor that you can choose this floor, this floor, this floor, and then we're gonna lay the whole entire apartment out, as opposed to walking in and have my whole entire apartment laid out on a floor that I think is not nice, right? So some contractors that will actually work with you in this way, they'll say, okay, like today we're gonna do, like this week we're doing the kitchen, all right? Coming on Monday, this is what we're thinking, this is kind of the vision, and let's go. And then if you show up on Friday and you say, this isn't quite what I had in mind, it's going to cost you more money, but they'll fix it for you, right? Okay, let's change this, and this, and then we're done. Okay, maybe after a month, the kitchen is done. The next week, okay, now we're doing the living room. Same sort of story goes. To be honest, it's a bit of a challenge to find contractors that will do that, because a lot of contractors rather just you as a client go away and then they just work. But if you're really invested in it, like getting it perfect, like this is where I'm going to live for the next 30 years, then yeah, I would actually, if I could, choose the agile. Majida, do you have a question or comment you wanted to add?
No, I was gonna say, because like before you mentioned all this, I was gonna ask like if the renovations consist of something like interior design wise, then yeah, it should be agile. But like if it's just like fixing the floor and like the walls or whatnot, because like fixing something, it would have a specific method, so it wouldn't really make sense for you to have agile for you like every once in a while make sure what the constructor is doing is right, even if you have like no knowledge whatsoever in regards to what they should be doing, you know?
Yes.
That wouldn't make sense. But in the sense that if you're choosing out the floor and like choosing the color of the paint, that makes more sense for you to have agile. So that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because the thing of it is, there's some projects, like for example, if you have a crack in your ceiling, there's really only one way to fix that crack. You don't have to go in there and process it for, an hour together. But something like the paint on the walls, maybe you want to have different, colors and say, well, how's the light hit in the morning? How's the light hit in the evening? That's something that requires a little bit more of that conversation. All right, last one that we're going to keep going along is I want you to imagine that you've been tasked to write a manual for new Year Up participants on how to succeed in Year Up. You and everyone in this room is your project team. Would you utilize the agile, or do you utilize the waterfall method? So I'm asking all of you, hey, I want you to create a manual for new Year Up participants, agile or waterfall. Green check for waterfall, red X for agile. Yeah, Andre, do you have a question or a comment?
I was actually gonna say I think it leaned to more towards agile because it's more of a manual, so it'd be better like a better strategy to make the manual, get feedback to see if like it's positive feedback. If not, then you can make slight changes and then send them back out again.
Yeah, so you would say agile for the manual. Great. And Mahmoud, you said waterfall for the manual. Why do you think it'd be waterfall?
Well, we sort of know what the end result is going to look like. There aren't going to be any sudden changes because the client wanting something different. We already know we want, so we can just plan the whole thing ahead and it'll make the process easier, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is one of those things, kind of like renovating the apartment. Like you can choose either or, whichever method that you prefer, whichever one you think is better. Because to Mahmoud's point, yeah, it's like create a participant on how to succeed in year up. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry what you want done. Then also to Andre's point, like, yeah, it'd be nice to have some flexibility and come back and reevaluate and say, no, that's not quite the direction we're thinking. Let's go back and touch it up. So when the reason we're spending so much time talking about this is because the first step of project management is initiation. When do you choose? Are we going to do agile? Are we going to do waterfall? You choose that in the initiation. Okay, so you have your problem, right? Now you want to solve the problem, and now you have to choose which method are we going to go forward with, agile or waterfall. Give me a green check if you're like, okay, Eric, I get it. This makes sense. Give me a red X if you're like, yeah, I literally have no idea what's happening right now. All right, I see an overwhelming amount of green checks. I'm happy to see that. Next question. Do you guys want a 5-minute break? Give me a green check, red X if you're like, no, I'm good. Let's keep going. All right, I see already lots of green checks. All right, let's come back at 11:02. All right, thanks. I gotta take a break too. Yeah, thank you for the correction. 11:02, 11:12. It's been one of those weeks for me where like I thought yesterday was Tuesday, and somebody in investment operations was like, Eric, today's Wednesday. And I'm like, wait, what? And so we didn't have a program on Monday. So I was like all, mixed up. I don't know what day it is. I don't know what time it is. So it's just been one of those weeks. All right, it's 11:12. So welcome back. Let's go ahead and jump into the lecture portion of today's lesson. So the first step to initiation, this is called the problem statement. All right, like I said from the beginning, project management, how's it start? It starts off with a problem. So a problem statement is not only addressing the problem, but also a proposed solution to fix it. All right, so here's an example of that. So here's a problem. Due to stress, the workday should be shorter. Okay, that's a problem. That's not a problem statement. A problem statement would be the comment below. All right, so because what's the difference between these two? The difference between these two is that one has a proposed solution, the other one does not. So the problem, due to stress, the workday should be shorter. Problem solution, it has a solution. What's the solution in this problem statement? Can someone tell me in the chat box? Yes, thank you, Jesus. Not so complicated. Just shorten the workday. Times are really tough right now. We're in an international pandemic. There's social arrest. There's lockdowns. People are getting sick. Daycares and schools are closed. What the solution is, let's lower the workday. From I don't know about you all, but I work 10 to 12 hours a day and have my whole adult life. I think working a 6-hour workday sounds pretty sweet. So with everything going on. So that's an example of a problem statement. So let's do a drill in the chat box. How would you turn this problem into a problem statement? What do you think? Living in New York City is too high. That's a problem. Remember, the problem statement has the problem plus a solution. How would you address this? In the chat box, give you 30 seconds. Think about it. What do you think a solution is to that? Maybe Texas is not so bad. I love it. Lower the rent. There you go. That's a potential solution. Low-income housing. Absolutely, Hannah. That's a solution. The rent should be $150 a month. Wow, that's a very exact solution. That would be nice. To lower the MTA costs, move to a different place, find somewhere cheaper, increase the wages, build more affordable houses. Yeah, all of these are potential solutions because the cost of living in New York City is extremely high. It's the most expensive place in America to live, or San Francisco's in the same boat, but very, very pricey. So with that being said, the next step is your problem. The next you want to have is your problem goals. What is the desired end solution, really? So this is where it gets a little bit tricky. I want to make sure that we nuance this properly. So look at this question. When you're sick, do you go to the doctor to get a prescription, or do you go to the doctor because you want to feel better? In a chat box, which reason do you really go to the doctor for? Pablo says, I go to the prescription. Both. So I'm in the same boat as Muhammad and Hannah. I go there because I want to feel better. That's the reason I go to the doctor. I mean, to get a prescription is part of the solution, but the end all solution is that I ultimately want to feel better. And that's a very, intricate nuance, but ultimately, like, that's why I'm going. The prescription, I mean, it's nice to have the medication that I need, but it doesn't help me feel better, then it's, wasting my time and everyone's time. So let's go ahead and keep building this out. This is a problem statement. We already shared this. What is the goal? The goal is that employees feel happier, they feel more balanced, they perform at a higher level, and they're eliminating time-wasting activities. So there's actually a lot of goals that come into place if we lower the workday. Like I said earlier, if my workday went from a 10-hour day to a 6-hour day, I'm gonna spend a lot less time, in meetings that don't really matter and doing things that aren't important, because I have to cram in 10 hours of work in 6 hours. So what am I doing? I'm eliminating time-wasting activity. I'm going to perform at a higher level because maybe I'm sleeping more, or maybe I'm getting exercise more, or maybe I'm cooking my own food instead of ordering takeout because I'm getting home at 9 o'clock at night. You see all these things that make me and you a healthier person. And to be happier, right? You get more time to spend with your family, get more time to play video games, you get more time to hang out with your friends from, socially distant, proper amount. So there's a lot of, good goals that will come out of this shortened work day. So example of that would be for the New York City statement, adequate housing for people of all incomes in all neighborhoods, right? Like, that's the goal. It'd be nice if, there was adequate housing, people could live, they could be comfortable, they could be happy, and they're not just confined to certain parts of the city, which is how it is right now in New York City. So we have our statement, right? We have our goal, and next we have objectives. Like, those are the baby steps on how do we get there. So some of you might be wondering, wait, aren't goals and objectives like sort of the same thing? So let me just give you a different example to kind of break down the difference between those two things. Here you go. So the goal says, I want to run a marathon. All right, that's my end all goal. What is the objectives? Right there. It's all the baby steps. So in the chat box, like, what's the difference between the goal up top and the objectives down below? In the chat box, what do you see? Yep, the objective is what is needed to reach that goal. The goal is the end product. Yep, Jalissa, the goal. Yep, awesome. Objectives are the steps. Hey, Ricky, do you want to unmute yourself and talk about that a little bit more? Because I love what you said there. What do you mean the steps?
So pretty much in the example that you gave, you said, I want to run a marathon, which is your end goal of what you actually want to accomplish. And, the objective, the 4 steps the 4 things that you have listed are steps that you would take towards getting ready for that marathon. Downloading the app, running shoes, practicing to run, and, signing up for the marathon. If you don't do at least the last one, you can't really accomplish that. The main goal.
Yep, you're 100% right, Ricky. Thank you so much. Stay off mute for a second, Ricky. What would happen if I just said, I want to run a marathon, but I don't really have a plan? Do you think I'd ever run that marathon?
In my experience, not really, because if I just say I want to work out, but I just say that, and I don't say, okay, I plan out what I'm actually going to do to work out, it's never really going to work.
Yeah, exactly. Same, Ricky. We're in the same boat. If I don't have a plan, it's just a dream. Like, oh, I'd like to do this one day, but if I don't have steps to get there, I'm never going to make it. So what do you think would be an example of a problem statement for this particular, objective and goal? Like here I'm saying I want to run a marathon. But that's not really a problem. What's the problem? What do you think? The goal sounds like a New Year's resolution. Yeah, which we're really good at keeping those, aren't we? I think I read somewhere that like less than 10% of New Year's resolutions ever get passed, ever actually are done. What do you think the problem statement is? Being lazy? Could be. The problem is I'm lazy. The problem is maybe I'm not exercising very often. What I put down for mine is that unless I have a goal to achieve, I lack the motivation to exercise. That's my problem, right? Thank you. Yeah, Rahul, perfect. Like I need the tools to properly facilitate a marathon run. The problem statement is that unless I have the goal, I don't have much motivation to achieve. So let's keep going forward. Yeah, exactly. And distracted by Domino's ads on YouTube. So problem statement, as a result of COVID-19, the workday should be shorter. And the goal as a result of this change, people are happier, they're healthier, they feel better. And then here are the objectives. Like here are the different steps that we can take to make this happen. So just like the person who says, hey, I want to go run a marathon, they don't have the small baby steps to get there. The likelihood of them ever running a marathon is very, very low. Same with this as well. If you say, hey, you know what, like our company should go from an 8-hour workday or a 9-hour workday to a 6-hour workday. If a bunch of people just say that, that's never going to happen. But if you have a goal and you have objectives, then it's much more likely to come to fruition. Next part. So we have this scenario, this problem. The cost of living in New York City is too high. What are the problem objectives? So here's an example of one. The government subsidies for building owners that allow 20% of their building occupants to pay a fixed rate for the working class New Yorker. So if you're a working class person, you make, let's say, $60,000 or less a year, you can live in this nice building, you can have access to all the amenities in this nice neighborhood, and then the owner of that building gets a subsidy from the government for allowing part of their building to be occupied by everyday New Yorkers, as opposed to just the super wealthy who can afford, $2 million one-bedroom apartment, which most of us, at this point in most of our lives can't. So that's an example of an objective. What else do you think in the chat box could be other objectives that we could put into place to make, the cost of New York City more accessible to every New Yorker, not just the super rich? So I gave one. What other things could we do? We already mentioned a few earlier. Yep, Hannah Holmes, increase minimum wage. I love it. Another one you could say in the same vein is you could say a universal basic income. So if you earn less than a certain amount of money living in the city, then you get, subsidy from the government. Lowering the rent, for sure. Income bearing and low income neighborhoods, make wage keep up with inflation. All of these things that making it more affordable. I mean, granted, I'm not an economist. If you know more about this than I do, feel free to raise your hand and talk about this, but these are just different ways you can make it more affordable for everyone. So, problem statement, overarching idea. This is the concept that needs to be addressed with the proposed solution. The goal, how are we going to get there? And the objective is the baby steps. All right. That is how you do your problem statement, your problem goal, and your problem objectives, which actually is tonight's deliverable as well. If you haven't already done it, that should be helpful. And as you prepare for that, are there any questions on those three ideas, like how they're different, how they work together, like what they all mean? All right. So here's your breakout scenario. I'm going to put you here in your rooms. Hannah, do you mind reading that for me while I do that?
For breakout scenario problem statement, our company is paying $50,000 a month mortgage on a Manhattan office nobody uses, while our productivity, and employee morale has increased during forced WFH. Problem goal, to lower costs, increase morale, and stay safe effective June 2021. We will be making our entire organization remote indefinitely. Objectives. In your small group, outline at least 5 objectives. For example, we will hire a lawyer to negotiate us to break our lease.
All right. Thank you so much, Hannah. Appreciate that. Appreciate you. For those of you who are kind of uncertain on language, WFH stands for work from home. So the company, COVID-19 came, we're paying $50,000 a month, $600,000 a year, even though nobody uses their office because it's not safe. Everyone's working from home. What have we found out? People are happier, morale's up, they're more productive. Therefore, in the next 8 months, we're going to make our company completely remote indefinitely. That term means forever. Like we're never going back to this office ever again. So now, with your team, you've been put on a project to make this happen. So what are the steps? Your goal is at least 5 objectives that you want to accomplish to make sure that we can, close this office completely. I already gave you a freebie. We need to hire a lawyer to negotiate us to break our lease. What are some other steps that you need to put into place to ensure that we are able to do this in a way that's most effective? Any questions on the breakout? All right, I'm giving you 10 minutes. We'll come back at 11:36, and we'll talk about how we're going to make this happen. Go ahead. Hey, Eric, you want to go into your room? Welcome back. Welcome back. We'll start off with room 3. That was Andre, Ashley, Bafong, David, Majida, and Mohammed. Do you have a person that you would designate as a spokesperson? Anyone from room 3?
Yes, Eric, I'll go.
All right, great. I think everyone's back. So what were the 5 objectives that you shared in room 3?
So unfortunately, we weren't able to come up with 5 clear objectives, but we had a sense of what how we can make the situation less elusive. So we said what we talked about was giving the office space to another company. So that way we're not taking out loans for the office, since the productivity and morals for the employees is increased.
Great. So one of your objectives was find a new tenant for your space.
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much. Let's go to room number 5. Hannah, Jesus, Luis, Ricky, and Tiana. Can one of you please unmute yourself and share one of your objectives that you discussed?
Yeah, I'll go. So we actually did get through a couple. One was to definitely have a seminar for all the employees that will be moving forward to virtual.
Great.
So to make sure that everybody understands how it's going to be working from now on and the steps that we're going to be taking and moving towards virtual. And then to lower cost, we said to lower hours that everybody's working, keep like higher positions with their normal hours, and just like entry level, just reduce their hours a little bit, but still have them, employed, because it said that everybody was happier, and I don't think that there was any problem with anyone working there from the statement that you gave. So yeah.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I love the seminar idea. Keep people up to speed. This is what we're doing. This is the plan. Does anybody else want to raise their virtual hand and share any other objectives that you discussed? We heard quite a few good ones. I want to hear if there's any other ideas. Yes, Chelsea.
In our group, we had quite a few good ideas. One, we decided that the managers for each department should schedule times for their employees to come in and collect their personal belongings.
Absolutely.
Discuss getting our insurance on our rental insurance canceled because most places take out insurance for the space that they're renting in case anything happens.
Yep.
Digitizing and shredding any sensitive documents because we don't want anything getting thrown out by accident. Furniture, anything that we can't sell or put into storage, offer that to our employees that may not have a home office set up. And with the extra money from closing the office, maybe give everybody a little bit of a raise if we're being nice, or allocate money for projects that further workplace happiness.
Awesome. Excellent. So, yeah, as you can see, like already in these like 3 or 4 minutes, we've already thought of almost like a dozen objectives. This is why project management is so important. It's not just like, hey, we're going to start working virtually now. It's like there's lots of things that need to go into that. So great job, team. We'll do Rahul and Mahmood, then we'll wrap up class.
Hey guys again. So my group, we struggled as well with a couple things. Well, one thing, 2 objectives I had that I wanted to pass on and see if it like would work is, one thing is locating the documents and like the agreements and terms of the lease. You know, you obviously want to have that at hand and know everything, all the details before going into anything. And the second thing is possibly, you know how Airbnb rents out spaces and whatnot. If you have the space rented, maybe look for alternative parties to accommodate that space in the meantime if we can't get out of the lease. So
excellent. I love it. Thanks, Rahul. And Mahmood, last comment before we close class.
Okay, yeah, we just had we managed to get 5, but I'll just rush through them.
No problem.
So we want to make sure that the employees had everything they needed to work from home indefinitely. We want to gather any office equipment like computers and then give them to employees to use from home. We also want to hire someone to clean out the office from things like furniture that we don't need anymore.
Yep.
And also figure out if we need to rent a smaller space to use occasionally, and if so, buy that smaller space or rent that smaller space to use.
Yes, excellent work. And Mahmood's team, fabulous. One thing that hasn't been mentioned yet is what if there are people who their job requires like a secure connection, that you don't feel comfortable with them using their home Wi-Fi if they have really sensitive information. And perhaps we have to rent a smaller space, maybe for 10 employees or 20 employees who need to be wired into our network as opposed to working from home. So I'm glad you brought that up because that's a real thought, isn't it? If you're dealing with sensitive information, like you don't want to be on your optimum internet in your apartment because who knows who can access that. So yeah, excellent point. I just wanted real quick before we wrap up, I want to do a quick teachable moment this is for everybody. Give me a green check or a red X, depending on this question. What do you think is less professional? Is it less professional to show up to a meeting 1 minute late, or is it less professional to show up to a meeting on time and then leave 3 minutes later? So if it's less professional, if I'd rather show up a minute late, green check. I'd rather show up on time to leave 3 minutes into the meeting, red X. So as you can see, if by looking at the thing, it's split. So this is my encouragement to all of us. Number one, you always want to be on time, but I've noticed in like our LC time often, not so much in class, but in LC, people will come on time and then like 3 minutes later they'll put in the chat box, break, like I'm leaving, I have to walk away. Which is one of those things that I would really encourage all of us to think through, because if you went to the working world and like you walked into a meeting that started at 10 a.m. and you sat down your stuff and then the facilitator or whoever was up front started talking and then like a minute in, like, oh, I got to go, and like walked out for 5 minutes, that would be perceived as very, very strange. So I just want to encourage you with that. I mean, obviously if emergencies happen, that's one thing, but that should not be our norm. Our norm should not be like I show up to a meeting and then I walk out 2 minutes later. And when you get into the working world, that's going to be something that you get to be mindful of. All right, that's all. Real quick, objective, your deliverable tonight, 11:59. If you have not done it already, think of a project that you might have to do at one point in your career or your internship. Problem statement, problem goal, objectives, Word document. This should not take longer than 15 minutes. Submit that. And before we all say goodbye, let's all look at Amna's screen because she has a cute little baby in her arms. So there we go.
Hi, guys.
And other than that, guys, take care. Have a great weekend. See you later.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Uh,
Have a nice day.
Oh, Eric,
thank
one
you.
question.
So want to see them? Okay. Okay.
So cute.
That's very cute. All right, we'll stop spotlighting
Okay, bye.
you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thanks, Amna. Yeah, David, do you have a question?
Yes, so are we typing our answers in the discussion board or are we actually using a Word document?
No, it's
submitting
like a physical Word document that I want you to submit via Schoology. Yeah, thanks for asking.
it? Okay, thank you so much.
Yep. Yes, Majida?
So I did the assignment, but I just wanted to have you like take a look just to make sure that it's on the right track, or it's like if it's correct, or I have to change anything or anything.
Yeah, of course.
Same
Let's
here, Eric.
Yeah, let me take a look. All right. Example. Yeah, this is what I'm looking for exactly. Yep. And as long as can you scroll down for me a little bit, Majida? Like you have your objectives, like your baby steps on how you're going to achieve this problem.
Yeah.
Yep. This is fine. This is good. Yeah, this works. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
David, Eric, I actually sent it. I actually put it on Schoology, but I'm gonna put it in right now. In 1 second.
Sure.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure, Jalissa.
So I heard you mention the project has to be something that we might. Does it have to do with like year up? Because I had mine in, but I did it on like a completely.
Did you use like a professional example though? Like a work or Europe? Yeah, that's fine. That's okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is what I submitted, right? So I put the restaurant that I want to open, which is in a restaurant. Is many students that get out of high school without knowing what to do with their lives. And I can make them realize that the world is a tough place once you turn into an adult.
Yep.
The objective is to speak to their guidance counselor, high school, to give me the 3 top hard-headed senior students so they can work for me. The objective is to teach those kids that in life everything is earned and given. Same thing as you're always doing for me, I would like to give it back to society. The goal is to get them out of the street life and to keep them busy in the summer. I was raised in the Bronx, so I know what it feels like not getting anywhere in the street. So
yeah,
would that be considered a project like for this assignment, or had to redo it and make them make it you're all relatable?
No, you could use that same thing. The only thing I would encourage you to do, Manny, is make the objectives a little more clear, like put them in like a bullet point. So like you had like the one was like talk to the guidance counselor, like that's your first objective. Second one is like set up a program for the youth to come and work, like teach them skills. Like I would do it that way. And the other thing too, I noticed like a couple typos on there as well. So go through a spell check, make sure your typos are good, and then yeah, that should be perfect.
Got it. So resubmit it.
Yes, resubmit it, making sure that you have like objectives should be the baby steps. So like what 5 to 10 things you need to make sure that you get done in order for this program to be a success.
Got it.
And I have office hours today too, man, if you want to talk through it more.
All right. Thank you, Eric.
Thanks, Manny. Ricky, do you have a question? You're on mute, Ricky.
I was just waiting to see if anything came up that I would have asked, but everything is fine.
All right, perfect. You're welcome. Enjoy the rest of your day. See ya. Bye.
Hi, Eric. Sorry, I had a. Hello?
Yeah, it's okay. Yep, I can hear you. Is everything okay?
Yeah, I had a question I forgot to ask. For the discussion board that was due, there was no minimum word requirement for it.
No, as long as you had it in 10 reasons in a list format.
Okay, because I replied, but it wasn't like a really long response. I wanted to make sure that it still counted as a response.
Of course. Yep, you're good.
Right. Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome. Have a good rest of the day, Ashley. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.